Are you spiritually bypassing yourself? In case we haven't met yet, I'm Jess Exco. I'm the sole founder of Life in Confidence. And what does it mean, spiritual bypassing? I kind of like to think that it's gaslighting with our own spiritual awakening and in the spiritual community and having spiritual friends and how we apply ourselves in life. Especially if you're very new to self-development and spirituality, it's so easy to get caught up in this game. So to give you an example of how that looks like, I noticed in the past when I started out in self-development and spirituality, there is this bypassing of the ego. So when we learnt something new and use knowledge to somewhat think our way to raising our consciousness or expanding our awareness of humanity and how it operates, we then feel we're superior or above them. And a lot of conscious people tend to think that way. But I'm conscious. I'm a conscious person. We use that label to justify that we're superior, that we're above the normal people who are very much conditioned in the matrix. And that creates a judgment or a separation in how we connect with humanity. And I can definitely say that I've played that game many, many times. And when we get caught up by using spirituality to justify that we're better than others, that doesn't make you any better than anyone else. I remember when I was dealing with an unpleasant experience with a yoga teacher through messaging each other on Instagram back then when I had Insta. And I didn't appreciate that he didn't contact me to let me know that his retreat got cancelled. And I showed up at the retreat and apparently the retreat center was closed. And it took me around 2 hours to get there by public transport. So I requested a refund and I didn't really feel he was sincere in his apology. Instead, he blamed it on the retreat owner for not letting me know, even though this yoga teacher was the one running the retreat because it's his retreat, it has his name on it. And he was gaslighting me with spiritual words and concepts, saying that I have to be the one to let go of the suffering and that I'm expecting too much, like as if I'm expecting 5-star customer service. And I said to him, no, this has nothing to do with spirituality or the venue owner. And I choose when I want to let go of this anger with you. Don't tell me when to let it go. And it is your responsibility as a business owner to communicate to your customers that your retreat is closed. Right? So this is one example how people can use spiritual bypassing to avoid confrontation, because when we confront something, we're also avoiding our feelings. And that's how it showed up for me as well. A month ago, I had a confrontation with what I thought was a soul sister, and she copied 2 paragraphs of my events. She used almost the same structure of my event description and charged the same price that I was charging. And she denied that she copied my event. She says that we don't use the same healing modalities, you're very overprotective of your work. And then she gave me a long message about women's empowerment because I requested for her to remove my testimonial of her event description because I didn't appreciate that she copied my work, make it as her own event, and not even asking me permission if she could copy those 2 paragraphs that I intuitively downloaded to craft for my ceremonies. And when I confronted her, there was no apology, there was no recognition of the impact of her behaviour, how it has affected me. It was all spiritual bypassing. Well, we should be nice to one another. You should be empowering other women in business, rah, rah, rah. But that doesn't make it right. It doesn't justify her actions. And she never admitted what she did. She never admitted that she copied 2 paragraphs of my event. And I didn't even bother going down that road with her because I could clearly see she was not open to feedback when I first asked her to make some changes to her event. I didn't say I was angry at you. I wasn't blaming anything. I just made a request. Can you please make changes to the event because you copied my event, and please remove my testimonial. So if she wasn't able to handle my request in a grounded, heart-centered way, how would she be able to handle if I was to give her feedback and how her behavior does not justify her actions in what she did? And I considered her as a friend. Now, to me, that just says that she's using spiritual bypassing to try to make herself look good without making herself look bad. And I've experienced this same situation with her in the past, and that was the reason why I decided to not be in contact with her. And now this has given me another reason to validate why I shouldn't be in contact with her, or should I say, to have a friendship with her at all. So I used to gaslight myself using spirituality, where I would suppress my emotions, where I tried to stop projecting my pain onto others and just calling it out that this is my shit and all this sort of stuff. And I've realized that I'm actually making myself worse by denying my own emotions and avoiding them, and avoiding certain conversations that I need to have with certain people whose behaviours has triggered me or has impacted me and how they see me, and it come across as me being depreciated and devalued and diminished. So I was using spirituality to say, oh no, what I'm seeing in others is also in me, and I need to change me. And so the thing is that if you're feeling emotional about something, first of all, own it. That's the best thing you can do, is own your emotions. Do not deny them or hide them or suppress them. It makes it worse, because that keeps recycling the same pattern over and over again. People will pick it up and they keep playing out that same pattern to you. So what you want to do is you want to break that cycle by owning those emotions that's causing you whatever it is for you. Then to process them, whether it's venting it out, releasing it, maybe you need to see a mentor or a coach or a healer to help you release them. And then 3, integrate what you got from that experience and just tune in with yourself. If there's anything that you need to say to that person to be at peace with that experience, maybe you need to communicate boundaries. Maybe you need to call out on their shit. Maybe you need to express how their behaviors come across to you. But if you are to communicate with them, communicate from an adult place, not from the wounded inner child. Because if you speak from the wounded inner child, it's not well received by the other person. When you speak from an adult, neutral place where you're not projecting judgment or blame, you're simply just sharing how this came across for you, how it made you feel. So that's you owning your feelings, rather than saying, you made me feel this way. No, your behavior came across this, so it made me feel this way. So I feel this way. right? When you remove the blame and the judgment and the finger pointing, the victimization, it makes it easier to create a safe space with that person for them to feel safe, to have that conversation. Some people will receive it very well and respect it. Some people will receive it and not continue the journey with you. Some people will not even bother changing their behaviors at all. And that's okay, because everybody is on a different journey in life. And that clearly shows you're not meant to be with that person, and that person clearly came into your life to show you what you need to own within yourself. How can you be in your divine power? What boundaries, opinions, or emotions that you feel called to share? So then this becomes a practice for you. It becomes easier and easier and easier to confront rather than avoid, suppress, and deny. So I no longer do this with myself. I now own my emotions, process them, and communicate with the other person how that made me feel. Because you're actually being of service to that person too. You're giving them feedback, nuggets of gold that they would not get from anyone else. And that feedback could truly serve them and help them grow in their consciousness and in their evolution, and create good karma for them to take on your feedback, and they apply themselves using that feedback and not take it personally, right? That could simply just be a blind spot for them. So it doesn't really matter how the other person reacts. What the main thing is that you honor yourself by owning your emotions, processing them, expressing them, and communicating it from an adult place with the other person without blame, shame, or victimization and judgment. So if you really struggle with confrontation, and I feel it's about having an open communication. That's how I see it when I do this exercise. And I used to feel like, but I really don't want to do it because I'm afraid of hurting their feelings, or it's just not a nice feeling. It's really uncomfortable to have these conversations. But now that I'm in my power, and it took me a long time to get to this place, 36 years, because I've realized that if I keep avoiding and suppressing and denying, I'm not going to get very far in life. I'm not able to sustain my friendships. I will just keep cutting them off. And that would be the same with my mum. So how can I learn and grow from this? How can I do life not on my own, but with support? And I need support in this journey. Everyone does. So I need to cultivate a loving and healthy relationship with myself so I can create and cultivate a loving and healthy relationship with my friendships instead of cutting them off all the time. And so I need to give myself permission that it's okay to feel anger, and I shouldn't feel guilty to feel angry or triggered or jealous or insecure, right? It's just part of the human experience. And these emotions are showing me what requires healing and how I can integrate these emotions as well. It's also showing me that there's nothing wrong with confrontation or having open communication with what I'm really feeling, and being authentic and vulnerable at the same time. And by giving myself permission to do that, I'm setting myself free. I'm no longer holding myself back, playing it safe, and being a people pleaser. That is the worst thing that you can do to yourself, is denying your truth, right? Because no one is doing that but you. And so that is the same for me. No one else is suffocating and suffering but me, because I'm holding on to these emotions and I'm not communicating them. So now I see my emotions as a way it's serving me, it's healing me, it's integrating me, it's showing me how I need to step up into my personal power. How can I be a leader? and take initiative in my friendships, in the communities that I participate in my business, with my clients and customers. And when you do this, it gets easier. It's like riding a bike. The first time it's wobbly, right? And then you do it again, you start to build your confidence very slowly. But then the more you keep riding, the easier it gets and you're having a fun time. And you feel like, you know what? This is a piece of cake. And that's where I'm at right now, is that it's not hard to confront someone. I might need to take a day or two or even a week to process the experience before I communicate certain things with that person. So I can communicate in a way that is from an adult place, that is neutral, and I'm no longer attached to the emotions or the story, or perhaps I just want to expose the story with that person to know, am I living in illusion or is this actual reality? So when we keep things to ourselves, it's really easy to get caught up in our victimization, in negativity, and this is where it leads to suicidal thoughts. So this is why I'm a big advocate in expressing ourselves, because I know what it's like to be suicidal, and it occurred to me very strongly just a few months ago, not long ago. And I invite you to give yourself permission to own your feelings and not be afraid of them. So if you feel that you really struggle with your feelings, you numb them, you deny them, you suppress them, you avoid them, and you feel that you're ready to receive healing and guidance around this, you might be interested in coming along to my full moon ancestral trauma clearing circle that I'm hosting via Zoom and also at my place. So if you feel called to rewrite your history and shift the timelines with your dysfunctional family members and ancestors, click on the link below. If you can't attend live, I also have my ancestral clearing audio, which is a light language transmission, and you treat this as a healing session in the comfort of your own home. So click on the link below if you would like to download that. And if you're in Sydney and you feel called to come to my full day cathartic immersion, I have one on healing childhood trauma workshop and another one on ancestral trauma alchemy workshop. So definitely click on the links below if you would like to attend either or both of these incredible immersions for you to start making peace with your past. And if you got something out of this video, please support my YouTube channel by subscribing, giving it a like, liking my video, comment below what you got from this, and share it with your loved ones who are in need of this most. And may you flow and embrace your emotions.